Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sylvia and Peter talking about mental health in general and mental health in business in particular. This time, we thought we'd talk about something that is a bit of a hodgepodge of all sorts of things. But if we were to put, Sylvia, if we were to put a headline or a heading on it, would it be something like talent drain in business?
Yes, I think that would be, particularly with the younger generation. It seems to be one of the big challenges for businesses and organisations in 2023. They call it the talent challenge. So yes, I think so.
And you kind of wonder what on earth has talent challenge got to do with mental health? But as you who work with youngsters an awful lot, and the stuff that I see in the Danish media, I'm in Denmark at the moment, hence a different background, is that young people are really struggling to figure out who they are, what they want to do, and there's a lot of anxiety going on, and depression and all sorts of things, which means that they're actually not either getting through the educational system, but they're also not making decisions or daring to make decisions to go into the workplace, whether it is in one type or another.
Definitely. One of the things that I see at the college where I work is a huge percentage of anxiety, a huge percentage of youngsters with depression, and this is diagnosed anxiety disorders and diagnosed depression. The figures are just shocking from the Children's Mental Health Alliance and also from Young Minds, Children's Society from last year, about the amount of children. We're talking in the UK here, for those that maybe tuning in from abroad, but the figures are shocking. And I won't quote out any of those, people can look those up for themselves. But the issue from the angle that we're talking about, the workplace, is what is the young talent? This is our future. This is our young talent, whatever industry we're talking about, whatever workplace we're talking about. And, we talked beforehand, didn't we, Peter, about that lost generation, how much of this younger generation will actually make it into the workplace, and at what level will they make it into the workplace, but also how will they manage in the workplace. I saw some figures recently, I can't remember the percentage, it was extremely high, of young adults going into the workplace who feel unprepared for the workplace on all sorts of different levels. So there's employability skills, but also that whatever phrase we choose, whether it's good mental health, resilience, mental fitness, mental toughness, just mental health or mentally healthy, okayness, whichever phrase we wish to use, that seems to be lacking, for want of a better word. And how are these young people going to manage in these workplaces? The flip side of that, though, I've heard the younger generation is thinking far more about self-care. Great. Looking after their mental health as they do their physical health. Great. However, how does that then prepare them for workplaces where there are some workplaces are more employee friendly than others? But let's face it, in some businesses and organisations, they are demanding. And however we want to dress it up, they are demanding workplaces. There's targets, there's deadlines to be made. And those businesses need to meet those deadlines and targets. Otherwise, they don't succeed, they don't thrive, they don't make the profits, they don't meet the shareholders' demands, and then they can't pay their employees. So it's a bit of a, as I think we've mentioned before, quite a hodgepodge of all different things. But the concern that I have from a young people's point of view is how are they going to manage going forward, and also from the other side, the talent, that new and young talent coming into the workforce.
I just can't quite figure out, and maybe that is a generation thing, how this has become such a big thing all of a sudden. Because when I was 15, I had a job. I was an office junior, did low-level stuff such as photocopying and filing and those things. And I learned by doing. And the adults in the department, they would tell me what I did right, what I did wrong. Sometimes it was a school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
But I had to turn up on time, and I had to do my hours and go home again and fill in my timesheet, all those mechanical things that you learn to do when you go into a job. I did as a student job. And it's not that young people these days do not have student jobs, because they do. But is the whole mentality changed amongst young people compared to when you and I were young? Or has mentality changed in the workplace? So there isn't the same excess capacity to just look after the apprentice or to look after the work experience boy or girl. I don't know. And I've certainly seen, from having lived in the UK for so many years, that at some point a certain prime minister thought that a stamp of quality for the nation was that half the population should have a degree. So there was a lot of pressure to go and have degrees that amounted to nothing in the end, and people didn't want them. They just thought they had to. And then I compare that with news I saw on the Danish news a couple of days ago, where a carpenter is now offering, go and do carpentry after school instead of scouts or sports, swimming, whatever you want to do. He opened up his workshops every year for young boys and girls to come and experience what it's like to be a carpenter, and they learn about what the bits and pieces are called and how to handle certain tools, of course, in a safe way given their age. But they learned something about the workplace in that way. And if we're not doing that, if we just expect people to come out of an educational system at whatever level and just slot into work, I think we have the wrong expectations. Because the academics, the teachers, are not out there in industry like you and I have been for years. So they don't know what it's like. We can't really ask them to teach people to become job ready, can we? So is it the workplace that actually needs to take over and ease people in?
Would have been great if we had a silver bullet. We are of a certain age where one could argue, we are an older generation, so are we being a bit, I don't know, curmudgeonly, for want of a better phrase? I personally don't think so. I think there needs to be, we've both straddled business and the mental health side as well. So we have that ability to see from both sides, and I do think there's been so much change in the workplace, particularly over the last 3 years, due to a certain world event. And I think that has exacerbated, definitely from the angle of what I see and experience in the college where I am, it's definitely exacerbated anxiety and poor mental health. But it's then what we do with that. But as you say, in the workplace, is it down to, for example, there's quite a big thing at the moment, isn't it, about encouraging the 50 pluses back into the workplace? Fantastic. Now, some are saying that would be great to encourage them back into the workplace, because then they could almost become, like you say, like the role models, take the younger ones under their wing that are coming in. But another flip side is that how it should be? That the responsibility for training the younger ones is down to existing workforce, or is it to do to training programs? So it would depend on the structure of the workplace whether that's possible. And also, to your point, that there are some workplaces where everyone is so time poor, will they have the time to sit and go through the processes and go through what needs to be done? I know my own self, heading up a team, also managing a team, massive sort of environment, busy, but also training the young talent that comes in. It does put a lot of strain, because you have your own deadlines to meet, your own roles and responsibilities to meet. But also, why I knew that by training the young talent, succession planning and talent management, it's stitch in time, that type of thing, because that they'll come through and that is our future. But it's who's responsible for that, and that's where sometimes the lines have got blurred. But I do think the workplaces perhaps need to think about what they do and how they manage this young talent coming in, because it is most definitely not, it's different to the young talent we may have had years ago. To your point, quite a few years ago, I had a young lad come join us straight from university. Great guy, great qualifications. But one day we had a massive payment to go out, and we had a 5-minute deadline to get this massive payment out. Whereas, whatever his name was, I won't name the name, disappeared. So I had to get someone else to do the payment, and we just made it literally by the skin of our teeth. The guy strolls back in about an hour later. Where have you been? Oh, I just went out to meet my sister for a coffee. He had no concept.
No.
Because when he was at university, he could turn up to lectures when he wanted, do things when he wanted, as long as he got the work in. But it wasn't his fault. He just wasn't prepared for those environments. And that's, I think, what we're up against at the moment. You know, I've got some figures here. You know, you talk about the mental health, you know, 75% of young people who are experiencing poor mental health aren't receiving treatment. 10 million children and adults have mental health and wellbeing issues in the UK that aren't receiving any treatment at all. So are they going to make it into the workplace? And in what capacity are they going to be coming into the workplace?
And also, might employers reading those statistics be a bit wary of actually hiring young people? Is that why they now want the 50 plus people to come back? And you have to ask yourself, why did the 50 plus people leave in the first place? Is it, again, a symptom of short-term thinking and instant gratification? We want the profits now, we want the benefits now, but we don't want to think ahead for the future because there's a cost now, and we don't reap the benefits until a few years down the line. I don't know what the answer is. I just think it's very curious that people are afraid of getting into the workplace. They don't thrive when they are in the workplace, and they leave the workplace early. So there must be something going on within the workplace scenario that has changed, because there's always been demands. We've always had deadlines. We've always had, as I said earlier, the school of hard knocks. You make mistakes, you learn from them. Your colleagues will pull you up on things, or your boss will. That's part of it, isn't it? We can't expect to be mollycoddled all the way through. So is it perception? Is it real? Were there things in our youth that we didn't see and just put up with? But actually, we should have been in a position where we could raise our voice and say, hey, I'm not putting up with this. I don't like this. We just didn't. And I can't tell which is which at this point. I really can't.
No, exactly. And as we said, you know, both ourselves, we both have struggled with our poor mental health in the past. And, you know, we said this before, the wonder if things were like they are now then, would we have spoken up earlier? Would we have sought support and help earlier? We may not have struggled as much as we did if we'd spoken up earlier. At the same time, it also does encourage courage, bravery, resilience. As you say, the school of hard knocks. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Whereas in my experience, a lot of the time now is when the going gets tough, oh, let's do something different, or let's bail, or we'll, you know, we've had the quiet quitting, quiet hiring. We have the Monday one, which I can't remember what it's called now. Ease in Monday, or whatever they call it now. It's all right, about. Sylvia. Pardon?
That's all right. You can't remember that one,
no,
because I know you will get worked up. We can talk for about an hour or so about that. But it is called Bare Minimum Monday. Bare
Minimum Monday. There we go.
And certainly, back in the day when I had my stomach pains on a Sunday because I had to go to work on Monday, there was no Bare Minimum Monday. It was full on. So again, it's a concept I don't understand, but maybe our viewers understand this better than we do, and have a different generational perspective on this. So I think it would be great if we've set the ball rolling here, and maybe other people would like to join us in the conversation and give us their views.
I'd love to hear that as well. Yes, be really good.
So on that note, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Take
Yeah,
care.
cheerio. Bye bye.